Hello, hello, hello. It's another beautiful Saturday. It is the day that the Lord has made, and He said we should rejoice and be glad in it. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to our viewers all over the world, wherever you're watching me from. I just want to say hello, hi. I hope you had a lovely day. I did. And it's been a beautiful day, although it's been raining on and off here. We need rain. We need rain. Oh, so don't you dare complain. We need rain. We need sun. God is all seasons. And we thank God, for the gift of life. I'm so grateful to be alive, to be among the living today. We give all the glory, honor, adoration to the Lord God Almighty. You are welcome to MCB Real Life Talk Show, where transformation, healing, and the blessing abound. I just want to say, be thou exalted to the Lord God Almighty. I hallow His name this evening. I bless Him for who He is in our lives, in my life, in everybody's lives. We just want to say, be thou exalted. He is great. He's awesome. He's marvelous. His mercies endures forever. The Lord, who is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Praise God. And of course, on this platform, I declare that Jesus is Lord. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. He is my Lord. So I will always testify of His goodness on my show and on my platform. I just want to say, be thou exalted to the Lord God Almighty. And of course, our anchor on this show is taken from Psalm 107, 1 and 2. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good and His mercies endures forever. 2 says, let the redeemed of the Lord tell their stories, who He has redeemed from the hand of the enemy. We're here to tell our stories, to glorify God, our experiences, where everybody have a story, every one of us has got a story, and no story is too small. And the Lord God has actually redeemed every one of us from one issue of the other. If it had not been the Lord who was on our side, He said, let Carol say, let whoever is watching me now say, if the Lord had not been on our side, we would have long be gone, long be gone. But blessed be the Lord God, who have not allowed us to be a prey to their teeth. We just want to thank God for another wonderful time in His presence today. Like I said, here we talk about stories, testimonies. And your testimony will bring hope to others. Your testimony will glorify God. Your testimony will bring down Satan. That's just the simple truth about the story we tell here. Testimony is an impact weapon against Satan. No story is too small. If you have got a story to tell, please inbox me. Or somebody that will want to share their story. Gone are those days when you say, oh no, I don't want to tell my story. I don't want to wash my dirty linen out there. Listen, when you tell your story, you will save someone out there. There's somebody in danger that wants to hear you. There's somebody who is hopeless that wants to hear your story. And your story will give hope to the hopeless. Please don't be selfish. And of course, in telling your story or your testimony, what happened? You are blessing others and you are glorifying God. The Bible made me to understand. It said they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And that's what we do here. So I am really happy to be here this evening once again. Please invite family and friends to watch with you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, MCB TV channel. And I really appreciate that. Please. All right. Thank you. And I'm Carol Babalola. I'm the host on this show where we bring beautiful, beautiful, bold, and brave women of substance with real life issues. They use their stories, their testimony to encourage, to empower, and to inspire other people out there. All the women that I bring or that come up on this show, they've all been through challenges of life, and they overcame by the strength of God. And they, of course, they are still standing to the glory of the Father. It's only God. Because sometimes when you hear some people's story, you'll be shocked. Oh my God, how did this person survive? How did he go had to go through all what he or she went through. It can only be the grace of God. All right. And we are here to glorify God with our story. Thank you very much for listening. And before I introduce my guest for tonight, I just want to quickly introduce my yearly event award that is coming up on the 29th of August 2021 at Doubletree by Hilton Hotel in Docklands. Please, I want you to come and encourage me. I want you to be there. It's a place where we celebrate, we honor and recognize ordinary people doing extraordinary things in the community, especially during this pandemic. What went wrong? People that went out of their way to make sure that people eat. While people were running away, there were other people at the center, making sure that people live, survive, or in the hospital. It could be anybody. The nomination is still open. Please nominate somebody, appreciate somebody. Like what Mother Teresa said. He said there is a hunger for love and appreciation in the world than bread. And that is the truth. We don't appreciate ourselves enough. We don't appreciate ourselves enough, and we don't, really tell people, oh, what you did for me, I really appreciate it. No, it's after the person is gone, then we'll be saying, oh, if I had known. Now is the opportunity to nominate and to celebrate, honor, and recognize that person out there. And the Lord will bless you. This is that is it. Influential Role Model and Mentors Awards presents award night. All right. And of course, you enjoy yourself. Don't be selfish. Don't say, oh, it's too expensive. Of course, you're going to 5-star hotel. You're going to eat. You're going to network. You're going to meet destiny, different kind of destiny. People from all walks of life. You mingle with people, the people that are influencing life in the community. Is a way of networking and, of course, supporting me, which is above all very important. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys. I hope to see you all on the day, and the Lord will bless you all in Jesus' name. Okay, now back to the matter of the moment. Today's topic is childhood trauma. I pause there. I have an expert here. She's going to talk to you. She's going to please invite family and friends or somebody that that has been through childhood trauma, or that there are some things we like to keep secret. Come and just get a word or a solution to whatever you're going through here and going through at the moment. Usually we think that childhood trauma generally refer to traumatic experiences. Only it occurs between 0 to 6 years. All right. And sometimes we think that, oh, because this thing happened to a child when they're young, it will not affect them later. That's wrong. That is wrong. Whatever, the child keeps that kind of experience in their subconscious mind. You'll be shocked. I mean, I remember something happened to me when I was about 10 years old. If you know me, I always say the story where one of my cousins died, and the hit and run accident actually just hit him, and he died. I was the one that lifted that boy up and I took him to the hospital. That's the day I knew the power of maternal power. This guy was bigger than me, heavier than me, but I lifted him up like a baby, and I screamed. Afterwards, nobody ever discussed that with me. Nobody ever talked to me about that issue until recently. It was about 2 years ago. You can imagine something that happened over 40 something years ago. It's when I started working with learning disabilities, and I saw some people who were suffering from epilepsy. Then I remembered my not really. I started crying, and I was just wondering, why am I crying? Why am I crying? And then later I realized that it was what happened to my cousin that really affected me. That is it. It can come back anytime, and it affects your mental health. Anyway, let me not talk too much. Let me call the experts of today, my sister, our guest on this show. She's another powerful, beautiful, brave woman of substance. You know, what will I call her? She's um my sister Kike Adebiyi. She's a trauma informed care coach, a dialectical therapist. She's going to tell us what that means. She's also the director of Mending Heart Consulting and co-founder of Raphael Nurturing Academy. Kike is an ordained minister of the gospel and happily married with children. She resides in the United Kingdom with her family. Please help me to welcome Minister Kike Adebiyi to this show. Hello, Sister Kike.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for honoring my invitation. Although it was late, I only informed you yesterday, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you came. I really appreciate that. Thank you very
You're
much. The
welcome.
Lord will
You're
continue to
welcome.
honor
Anything
you.
for you, sis.
I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I publicly declare my love for you. Thank you for coming on. How are you?
Welcome. Yeah.
How was your day?
My day has been eventful. I've had series of meetings, but then very purposeful, very fulfilling, I would say. Yes. So yes, it's been nice. In spite of the rain, I enjoyed it. I've had a
Thank God.
wonderful day.
I usually tell people, please don't complain when it's raining. We need rain.
Oh, we just need to embrace any season the Lord brings our way.
Just enjoy get the best out of it, and that is it. All right. Once again, you're welcome to MCB Real Life Talk Show. Please introduce yourself and tell us about who is Kike Adebiyi and all about your upbringing, please.
Okay, thank you. Kike Lomo Adebiyi. Yes, I'm Kike Lomo Adebiyi. I am married with children. I'm married to Pastor Adebiyi. Yes, I was born in the United Kingdom years ago, decades ago. And yes, when I was about the age of 5, going on 6, and that was when, at the time, my parents were studying here in the United Kingdom, and it was the norm then to send children back, or maybe they go with the children back to their country of origin. And for me, it was Nigeria. And so I went to Nigeria with my aunt at the time. She had finished, completed, and then it was, I don't know what arrangement they made, but then I just found myself living with my auntie in Nigeria, in another part of Nigeria, which wasn't Lagos that everybody knows, until the time my dad finished his own education. And he came for me, with my, when I was staying with my aunts. And then, I started living with him. Also, my younger sister came with my dad at the time. She was about 2 years old. That's 5-year gap between us. So we all started living with my dad at the time. My mom was still here in the United Kingdom studying. And it was much later that she joined us in Nigeria. So my formative years, I would say, well, it started here in the United Kingdom, but more of it was in Nigeria, and but the beginning of it was here in the United Kingdom. So yeah, that's how I would say my beginning was. So I wasn't. Yeah, I stayed in Nigeria till I was about maybe like 29, 30. And then came back to the United Kingdom with my family. Then I had married, I had 2 children, and then, I've been in the United Kingdom since then. And that's I'm talking about for 24 years now. I've been back to the United Kingdom. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you very much. That means you had 2 children when you were 29.
No, 29. No, 29. I got married in the year of my 30th year. So,
okay.
So I would say 30. I had my first one when I was 30. I had my second one when I was 31.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I had my first one when I was 31.
Mm.
So we just want to encourage somebody out there, when you are about 20 something, don't rush.
No.
That which is yours, your Boaz will come. He who
Definitely.
finds a wife finds a good thing. You are a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wait and just pray, just prepare yourself. Know who you are, invest in yourself, improve yourself, and wait.
Yes.
That man, your Boaz will find you. And when
Mm.
they find you, you will just, before you know it, you know, thank you for that. I want you to tell us, how was your childhood experience like?
Mm. Okay. Um, this was my childhood experience. Now, I must start by saying that I was very much introverted as a child. I wasn't one person that will, that was a bubbly. I was bubbly to an extent, in the sense that I could talk, I could ask questions. But there were some events that happened in my life that just kind of cut everything off. And what happened was, when I was taken to Nigeria, um, I had an uncle that came to live with us, and he was there with my grandmother. And it was this uncle of mine that, at a young age, I was about 8 at the time, and he sexually molested me. And this abuse continued for years. It wasn't something that happened once or twice, but it was something that, happened, continued for a long period of time. And being someone very, with people, perpetrators like that, they threaten you. Mine was such that, even when I tried to struggle, I didn't understand what it was, but I knew that it wasn't anything good, because I'll get the beating. I will get, man came with violence, even as a child, and he was in his 20s. So that was the way he did his. And it was always when my parents were not around. Well, my mom was not even around. So when my dad went to work, he had the opportunity to do whatever he needed to do. This experience, it just killed everything in me.
Wow.
It was the thing, because I knew something bad was happening. I knew something was going on, but I couldn't explain what it was. So
Wow.
I carried on. I just bore it. I just internalized the pain, internalized the experience. And that went on for years. I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't have the boldness. I went to school. I was confused. I was, I was just demoralized, so to say. Uh, and whether my parents noticed it or not, I wouldn't know. But I wasn't doing well academically. So everything about me was paralyzed through that experience. And I just bore it over the years, through my secondary school, through my university days in Nigeria, because I completed my university. So nothing was going well. And it was as a result of this traumatic experience. It was an
Wow.
experience that always, it shook me. I remember in those days growing up, when my dad would want to go out, maybe like go, visiting friends, I would cry. And the crying was more of, just take me out of here. I
Hmm.
tell him, because, as I said, I get the beatings as well as the molestation. So it was two in one. Through that pain, I had to bear it all. So um, what made me, I think my parents were strict. Even when my mom did come, she was a loving woman. But because the Africans, we have this way of, oh, you have to be smart, you have to be this. That kind of upbringing didn't allow me to say anything. I was like, who, and the first thing that would come to mind is, who will believe me? How will I even describe the incident? How will I narrates, what the experience has been. But it was there. I know it is real. And I want to say that for parents whose children may
Wow.
be saying to you, this happened to me, believe your child. No child will make up such stories. It is very difficult for a child to come up and say, uncle did this to me, or auntie did, because it's not just men that molest children, even ladies molest children.
Wow.
So believe your child, be able to stand up, because and this particular thing has it's over the years anyway that I realized what God was using this to do in my life. But let me just carry on to say that this was not an easy journey for me, because it impacted on every area of my life.
Yeah.
So it is something that I wish I had spoken out, but then, well, it is what it is. I bore it. I just,
Oh,
so that was my experience. And coupled with that was the fact that when I got to Nigeria, I was exposed to female, genital
anytime.
mutilation.
Were you?
I went through that. And, as I'm speaking to
Was
you,
this sorry, sis, was this before you were abused or after?
that was before. It
Before you
was
were abused.
months after that was when I started living with, this was when I was with my auntie.
Was it
So
your auntie that did it, that carried it out?
yes, she did. She organized it. I can still remember the day as I speak to you. I still remember how it all happened and the pain I went through. Somebody imagine I was about 6, 7 years when it happened. How I was with to the hospital. I had to be taken to the hospital to get it done. So I was very aware. And it's not like now in these days that, okay, you want to perform maybe a surgery, you go through, anesthesia, and then, it was live and direct, crude
Oh,
method.
Jesus. I know. I escaped it. I escaped I remember I didn't live with my dad. I went to visit him on occasion visit. And he said, remember, you've not been circumcised. I said, what does that mean? What does that mean? I was just a little child. And I can still remember too as well. I said, what does that mean? And my mother tried to explain to me. And since then, when I see him come to visit, do you know I run away? I hide. I'll hide away from him. And people were wondering, why are you running away from your dad? Because of that one word he said, I'll run away. They'll be looking for me. They can't find me. Because I thought he's coming to carry that thing out. Horrible. Thank you very much for bearing it all out for us, for telling us the truth. Because I know there are people that are going through such a thing or that have been through, and it has actually affected them so well, mentally, psychologically. I mean, that's double trouble for you.
Yeah. So having gone through that and then coming to Lagos and to go through what I experienced was a double blow for me.
Oh my God. It can only be God. It can only be God to have.
All before I was 10. I wasn't even 10. I wasn't even 9 when all this happened. You see. So
you said when you were talking. Okay, sorry about that. While you were talking about telling us your story, narrating your story just now, you say your sister came to join you at a point in time. Do you know if your sister was abused as well?
No, she was a baby. She was a baby. She didn't.
You can never tell. They do babies
she would
as
have
well.
told me. And she didn't go through. No, because she was a baby, and then of course she was all around my grandmother. My grandmother came to live with us at the time, and she was all around that. She was a toddler. She was just learning to walk at the time, so she didn't go through. But for me, whoa, that was my almost daily bread.
So what was it? When was the first time he approached you? Did you know what he was trying to do, and how did you react?
I can't remember. What I can remember faintly, I remember him telling me to go into the room. I remember that incident. I remember him saying to me that I should lie down on the bed, which I wasn't understanding why he wanted me to lie down. It was broad daylight. It wasn't as if it was nighttime. It wasn't my bedtime or anything. And I remember that I resisted for some reason. I didn't understand it. And I remember that he started, he brought, he just took off his pair of slippers and he started whacking me all over my body. And after that, he now pushed me to the bed and, molested me. So that was the beginning of it, you see. So, and, being someone who just came from England to my Yoruba, I mean, that was the dialect, that was my language, was not too good. So
Yeah.
I can't remember on top of my head the words he was saying or what, but I knew that he was angry, the resistance, it was, and his frustration, even though I was young, but I knew that what he
Mm.
was going to do was, it didn't look right to me. Why would you want to
Mm.
take off my undies? Why do you want me to do that? But that he had to force himself to do it and, get his business done. So, of course, with pain, you can imagine a girl of 8 years old to a man of, in
Mm.
his 20s, you can imagine what pain that is. So, and that was going on with all, wanting to kiss me and all caressing
Oh,
and all that, it's too much for a young child, but that was how it went. That was the daily communication, I
oh.
would say.
But did you not have it in to tell somebody about it? Your grandma, your grandma was there, your dad at that point in time?
As I said, at the time, I was just too scared. How will I describe it? What will I say? I wasn't one person given to talking or once that incident started to happen, I was living in fear. It was more of fear. You see that, okay, even if
Mm.
I do say something, what's going to happen? I'm going to be left with this person. That's what
Yeah.
usually happens with some people. Why they don't say it? What it's gonna? Some even perpetrators will say, "I'll kill you
Yeah.
if you dare to open your mouth. I'm going to,
Put them in your.
slaughter you." And of course, for a child who wants to die, in fact, some will even say, "If you do something, I'm going to kill your mom." And then nobody
Think
wants to
about
see
that.
their mom dead, so they
Mm.
just keep mute. So that's just it. You just it's not a nice experience. It's not something
It's
I
not.
pray anybody should go through. And for
Yeah.
people who have gone through, I do understand. And that's why it pains me when people come out to share their story or they come to tell, especially in our
Mm.
African culture. And
Yeah.
people tend to say it's a lie. Why are you just saying it now? You can
Mm.
only talk about it when you found your voice.
That's true.
It's about finding your voice. If you've lost your voice, you will not say anything. It will be internalized and it will be damaging that person. So many people we see who, trauma is anything that has affected you. It's always an event. It could be one event, it could be two, multiple events. But that one can be one that can devastate the life of someone for the rest of their lives. They will be behaving in ways they themselves may not be able to understand. They will numb their pain. That's why you have some people who, having gone through experiences like this, can go through the extreme. Some can take this, run with it, and become promiscuous. Some may
Mm.
go with it and they get married and they have problems with their relationship because they don't
Yeah.
want a man near them, or
Yeah.
just grow up having relational problems because
Mm.
the traumatic experiences that they went through, they just don't want to, they associate men with, abuse. I think what helped me personally was the fact that
Mm.
I gave my life to Christ early.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
when I met
Wow.
the Lord
It's
Jesus
not
Christ,
the
I
same.
knew
Mm.
another kind of life. But that
Mm.
didn't I mean, my healing didn't take place automatically. It was a process in time.
Mm.
You see, I had to heal gradually from this. I
All
had to
right.
learn to forgive.
We're coming there. We're coming there. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you that question. All right. I just wanted to ask another question. When, at what time did you find your voice? At what time did you say enough is enough, that the abuse actually stopped, or it never stopped before you left, or until you left home?
That's a good question. Thank you. Now, I remember there was a day he called me. This is my uncle. Normally, sometimes he would say, okay, I want to teach you math or I teach you English. Sometimes that's how it starts.
Mm.
And then it goes to, so when he says, go and bring your book, I know where it's leading to. I don't know, this time I must have been, yeah, maybe around 8, 9, around 9. I remember that day vividly. He said, go and bring your books, as usual. But something within me said, you're not going to have me today. So while he was lying on the bed, I brought the book. He said, sit down here. I sat down beside him. So when he wanted to, he was just about, the usual setting, the pre, and
Hopefully, yeah.
the moment he just touched me, I remember just getting up angrily, and I
Holy
took the
anger.
book and I just threw it at him, and I got out of the room. And that was it. I think he got scared because I had never done that before.
Mm.
So that was it. That's the last time I remember that he touched me. But one
Did
thing I
he?
remember that he would do, even though it was no, and there were sometimes he wouldn't do the bed one. He would pretend as if he's playing with me, but then using his body, rubbing his body against me.
Yeah, that
But
was
it's
very
still
common in Nigeria at the time.
yeah, it's still childhood abuse. So
It is.
that was going on until he left.
I know
But
on the bus then, it used to happen. Men will be rubbing you at the back with their whatever.
mm-hmm.
So, what do you tell somebody out there that has been through this and up till now, they have not, they have not forgiven themselves. They think it's, them, it's me to blame for this, even when though they were young. And just tell us, how did you go through it over the whole thing, please? And
Well,
speak to somebody out there, who is going through or that have been through.
thank you. If you are going through, or if you've been through, here in the UK, I would say there's so many organizations out there that are ready to listen to children. There are so many helplines out there. There's a national society, and there's one called NAPAC. Yes, there's NAPAC, there's NNSP. I know the acronyms, but because I haven't actually reported, on, a child who or tried to help a child who has ever kind of confessed to having been molested in this country. But I have worked with a lot of adults who went through it back home, and I've been able to help. So what I would say to people who are here, even if it happened to you when you were, young, you still need to heal from it. And I would say, if you can find a way of, tell someone, you need to speak out.
Yeah.
That pain, you shouldn't internalize it. You need to speak out. Let someone hear your story. Eventually, I told my parents, but that was years after. And my mom was furious, not at me, but at the perpetrator, because she loved him and never knew when she came back that this
Disappointed
woman,
you.
so to her, it was a slap in the face.
Betrayal of trust.
Yes, because my dad wanted him out of the house at some point. It was my mom that begged for him. So she didn't know that begging for him
Was
was adding painful to her daughter. So that
mm,
she for months or for some weeks, she told me that she wasn't herself when I told her. My dad too wept and said, "Look, we didn't know you were going through this. We didn't know that under our watch this happened." And of course, he denied it.
mm,
He denied it. But
wow.
then, and I didn't expect him to say he did it. You see,
Of course he
that's
would.
really where we come from. Nobody's going to, own up to such a thing. They would deny
Mm,
it, you see. But I had already forgiven anyway before that incident. So it was just to put a closure. Because that's the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, that, look, you need to talk about it to put a closure to your pain.
mm,
If you internalize and you just leave it, there may never be a closure. But if you talk about it and you find inner healing, and that's what I do in the institution that I co-founded, Rafa Nurturing Academy, where we teach inner healing. It's a 4-week course, and when people come on it, we teach people how to come out of that pain, how they can heal, how can you can forgive, and also how they can move on. And many people have, the women that come, many of them have found their own inner healing, and they're still in the process, because it's a process. But
it is
at least you know how to run with it. How do you come out of that pain? How do you move on from where you are to where you desire to be? So it's important to talk about your pain. And for me, I'm running with a project where I'm working with African mothers, and there's more that will come about this. Women, please protect your children. Listen to your children. Have good relationship with them.
yeah.
See, let them be accessible. Don't shout every time. That shouting, they interpret it as something. So when things like this happen, they will not talk to you about it. But if you're a
Mm-hmm.
mother that everything, you want to know how they are, you're very caring, you show it. When things like this happen, they will tell you. But if not,
Yeah.
you won't hear it.
Drive them out. Yeah.
And the reason why I'm talking to mothers, why I'm saying that I'm passionate about this area, is the fact that the perpetrator can be the husband, the dad of the house. 70% of rape, childhood abuse in this country, 70%, I'm saying, it's from the fathers,
Biological fathers.
biological fathers.
Mm,
That's a high number,
it is. It is.
you see. So now, if it's the husband, what is the role of the wife? I've heard, in some cultures, I know things like this is not mentioned. The cultural factor comes into it.
Yeah.
While even some people will not even talk about it in the first instance. And why some mothers may not defend their children, which is bad enough. And they
Very.
will rather side their husband, because the way they look at it is, I need to save my marriage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's
That's
preach
the way,
on.
and that's the way culture we put it. That are you going to put your husband into trouble? Are you
Yeah.
going to expose him to the
Mm,
community?
mm.
So they would rather shush the
The
child
child.
and then save the marriage.
Mm.
But there's a way you can confront and still have a home if it's managed well. But then it needs to be spoken about. It annoys me. It frustrates me when I hear things like this.
Very
And that's
frustrating.
another area of my pain.
It's painful. I don't know how to describe that as well. It's
Hmm.
very, very annoying, especially when you've been through it and you don't want somebody else to go through what you've been through. Thank
Yes.
you very much, sister, for bearing it all out for us. I want to ask another question. How did you feel about your mother? Did you feel she neglected you? Did you, ever um get angry with her? Because I mean, for me as a person, I say she was supposed to be there for me. She was never there. Most because as mothers, no matter what happened, she should have been there, or she would have allowed you to stay with her. To that's I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
I know. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
How did
I,
you feel
I
about the whole thing with your relationship with your mother and your father, not knowing that you were being abused? And at what time did you, if you ever got angry with them, at what time did you forgive them? And the guy or the perpetrator, did you ever forgive that person? And at what time did you decide to forgive him?
well, I forgave him before I even got married. I got married in 1995, and I remember that my husband and I we went to the village at the time, and to because it was customary where I come from that when you're getting married, you take your fiance, you and your fiance go to the village to show other members of the family, the
Yeah.
extended family, that this is the person you're going to get married to. So my
Mm.
dad insisted that he wanted myself and my husband to be to um, travel down to meet his elder brothers, which I did. So when we got there, I saw this uncle of mine who, you know, who was the perpetrator, and I didn't have any bad feelings
Feeling
towards him.
or bad feelings?
Funny enough, I greeted him nicely, but I said to my husband, I said, because I told my husband about it, and I said, this is the person. He said, I feel like punching. I said, just take it easy. You see, you're just coming into this family. You don't even go there. You see, what I'm
Mm.
trying to say is that I had forgiven. I told you I gave my life early.
Yeah.
Yes. So that forgiveness had come, whether I understood it fully or not, but I had forgiven. I didn't have a grudge against him. What he did was bad enough. But even when I was meeting him face to face years after, I didn't have any, I didn't have any bad feelings towards him because I had settled it with God. But he didn't say anything. He didn't, he just greeted me casually, like, how are you? Long time. Congratulations, as if everything is fine between us. But in my
Wow.
heart, I was like, you. But then it wasn't a you with, I feel like punching you. No.
Mm.
Now, when it comes to my parents, I didn't, the only thing I just didn't like was the fact that maybe to find out why was I the way I was, even if they didn't know what happened. You
Mm.
know, growing up, it was more of why why didn't they not sit down to find out why am I like this? Why was I behaving? Why was I not doing well? I know my mom did try, to be honest, but not really to ask me. And I don't know. People like that, when they do it, it's done in secrecy, so they may not have known. They go to work. They were working class parents, and they were not, I won't say they were negligent of me. They thought I was in safe hands, but they just didn't know that the safe hands may not necessarily be safe hands, you see. So I think that was,
Mm.
even when years later they found out, it was painful for them that, oh,
Mm.
thought we were, everything was fine. They didn't even know that under their watch things was going on. So that was the pain for them. And to be honest, they said, Kike, forgive us.
Wow.
And I
And
said,
what about the perpetrator? Did they ask for forgiveness from you?
no. He even denied it. He
Not
denied it.
even when you met him at the wedding
No,
introduction.
no, nothing. I wasn't even expecting him to say, oh, I'm sorry for what I did when you were growing up. They said that when my parents confronted him, he denied it. He said, oh, he swore by heaven and earth, he did all the
Mm.
things. But then I was told that he cried. He cried.
Later, all that same
Yeah,
time, that same
yes,
time.
he cried. So I don't know. I've not seen him since then, but I've put a closure to that. When all that happened and he'd been confronted, and I just forgave and I just closed that chapter of my life, you know. And I think it was when I was able to genuinely close that chapter, when all that was happening, I kind of opened it up to the Lord again, that I could then gradually start talking about it more. You see, it took me time to talk about it. I was an adult before I could talk about it. When I mean adult, I was over 20 when I first spoke about it. I think to a very dear friend of mine, but it didn't go further. It was when I started having children, after, in fact, maybe I would say maybe like 10 years ago or less, and I started being more vocal about it. When I
Talking about
told,
children,
sorry,
sorry, sis. Talking about children, how was were you very protective about your children? Please tell us about that, because I know if something happens to you, you kind of, subconsciously be overprotective over yourself, especially your girl children. How
yeah,
did you cope with that?
thank you very much. You know what? I've got 3 girls. And the day I decided to tell my children, because they're all adults now, one is married, one is in the home with me, 2 of them are in the home with me. And I just called them and I told them that part of it. Then my girls, one of them said, now I understand why you were so protective about us. If they were to go for sleepovers, I would
Yeah.
scrutinize the family. They couldn't understand it. In fact, one of them, I think there was on one occasion, one of them said, I'm not even going for the sleepover. I spoke to the mom. I wanted to know, do they have boys in their family? I wanted to know everything. And that was how it was, you know. So even when I had visitors, I will want to be sure everything is okay, you know. It was just a subconscious thing I was
Yeah.
doing.
It's okay.
And it was because of my own background.
Yeah.
So they said to me, Mom, we didn't know you went through that. Now we understand why,
Right.
you were so protective over us.
Mhm.
So yes, I was very protective over them. I didn't just allow them to just wander off anyhow. No, I just want, and because of my experience, I made myself accessible. So my children can talk to me about anything,
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
anything, even about
Mhm.
boys, about, we have that rapport, we have that relationship. They know where, if I say this as a mother, they know this is the mother tone coming up. And when we talk as friends, they know this is where, so they know the line. And so we have a good relationship.
That's good. That's very good. For a mother to have a good relationship with their children, not only girls, but mostly girls.
Hmm.
When you build that rapport, that relationship, like you said earlier on, they will always come back and tell you, say, Mom, you know what's going on? This is what
Yeah.
is going on in my life. But if you
Hmm.
kind of, you want to behave like that African parent, oh, I'm not your friend. I do say that
Yeah.
sometimes.
Hmm.
I'm not your friend. They
Yeah.
say, go, mommy, you're not my friend. Okay. And sometimes when I want to ask, I say, nothing. I don't know if
Hmm.
they ever did that to you. Mommy, nothing. What is it? Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. That means they
Hmm.
have blocked you out. When you are too authoritarian, that's what you get.
Exactly. And I think
So
it's just the carryover from how we were brought up. And that's what we do automatically. Sometimes I remember when they were young, I would just scream and shout their name. Maybe I'm downstairs, they're upstairs. And there was a day I just shouted the name of one of them, and the person, and she was just right behind me. And it was like, I'm
I
here.
do that all the time.
And I'm
I
like,
still do that.
you just look like a man. Why are you just shouting? You know? Oh,
I still do that. They say, Mommy, you shout too much. I said, well, that's who I am. Sorry. All right. I want to ask another question, please. Can you please tell us about the types of childhood traumas, the causes, the signs, and the treatment, if it's possible, within 5 minutes, please?
okay. Well, one aspect of child trauma is where we've spoken about the sexual abuse. There could be neglect, you see, where a child can be neglected emotionally, can be neglected physically. Emotionally can be where you're supposed to have been there for a child in their emotional hour of need, and the child is not there. I mean, the parent is not there.
Yeah.
It could be, it could come in form of even a child experiencing neglect as in physical neglect, not being cared for, not given food, you know, the basic necessities of life. And that happens a lot, and it affects children growing up. When they become adults, it has a way
Yeah.
of, you find that they're withdrawn. And even in schools, you find that some children, when they're going through things like that, they're withdrawn. Some, when they're going through even domestic violence, they're witnesses to domestic violence. It's a form of child abuse in a sense. Such children, in the way some children, when they go through some abuses, they may seek attention, some because they've never been loved. They may be attention seekers in the
Mm.
class, or be disruptive, just to seek that. They want that affection. So you find that happening. In some instances, they could be withdrawn, low self-esteem, not believing in themselves. Maybe they've gone through emotional abuse where they're being called names, they're being shouted at, they're being, those kind of things. It affects children. So you find that such children, they may not be able to, that self-confidence is not there. It's knocked off. So they just withdrawn. They may actually be intelligent, but that thing has knocked it off them. And you just see that such children, they withdraw from the playground, or from their friends. They may not have friends. So those are kind of things that you see. And you find that even teachers, because you see that even I used to work in a nursery school. You are taught some of these things, how to watch out for signs in children. There are parents, somebody actually taking care of them. What is this child going through? Even some things they say, we watch out for the language they're using, the kind of
Mm.
things. Sometimes some children may draw things, their drawings portray what is going on in their lives. So
Yeah.
see that some things that can. So if you have a child that is not talking, is withdrawn suddenly, sometimes they may not eat. It affects their, their, maybe their eating habits. Some children may not be sleeping well. The sleeping pattern is this. So these are signs you can. And then once you notice something unusual about your child, you could just call that child aside and say, is there anything happening? Is there anything? Are you okay? Maybe you want to take that child out for a walk, take them out for a drive, and just have that one-on-one with your child to know what is going on in their lives. So that could, make them be confident to say, okay, let me share with you what is happening in my life at this time. So yes, so these are just some of the signs that, yes, some children could be displaying, and that you can
Thank
see
you
in them.
very much. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Oh, time is never on our side.
Never.
There's another question I want to ask. Does childhood trauma negatively impact the behavioral or physical development of a child?
Yes, it can affect the behavior and the development, because um, when you go through trauma, there's, the brain, there's a way your brain reacts to traumatic experiences. When there's a kind of like, it could be a flight when you are exposed to danger, for instance, it's either a fright or a flight, or ha.
Right.
So your so the natural reaction for some people could be, I better run. That's your brain processing the information of what is going on at that time. For some people, it could be a freeze, you know. Um, should I just be there? And because of that, that information is going on. So you find that there's a way our experiences, it is stored in our brain. And scientifically, it has been proven that these experiences shaping how, our the development, especially in children,
Mm,
as they grow up. There's a way these things affect their cognitive reasoning, you see. And that is why you find that many of children who go through childhood trauma, it affects them in their education.
yeah.
They could have learning disabilities. They could have, problems, if it's not addressed. If it's addressed early, they could come out of it. But if
Yeah.
those things are not addressed, that is when it becomes a problem in their lives.
Okay. Thank you very much, sis. Before I ask the last question, which I usually ask all my guests on the show, could you please just talk to somebody out there that, like, that is going through or that have been through and is not able to share their story? I think there is healing in talking.
Yes.
You are a therapist, so you should be able to answer that question, to because there's some people, the more you bottle up, the more you're feeling depressed, you have these mental issues and you get agitated. Like you
Mm,
said, some people have inner vow that they would never get married because of what happened to them,
mm.
and they have all kind of issue. Can you just speak to somebody out there, how to forgive? And is it easy to forgive? I know it's not easy to forgive,
It's not.
you know to forgive your perpetrator or the abuser. Please just speak from your heart. How did you forgive? How did you find, peace in
Okay.
your mind to be, telling people and to be helping others? Just please speak to somebody out there that will listen or watch this video later.
I would want to invite whoever it is out there. You've gone through childhood trauma. It might even be not only childhood trauma, but you've gone through a form of traumatic experience. What I would say, number one, there's nothing God cannot do. God is a healer. He's the ultimate healer. He's the one that can heal. And he's the one that healed me because I gave my life to Jesus Christ early. He helped me. But another thing I would like to say is it's good for you to deal with, don't sweep it under the carpet. You need to talk. You need to maybe find a good therapist that you can confide to, or a counselor. It's therapy, it's counseling, or a coach that you can work with. Because self-care is very, very important. You need to come out of it. There are things that you can do. Learn to journal. If you're still hurting, pour out your heart. Even if you've not found somebody to talk to, you can develop a habit of writing down how you're feeling. But it's important that you get help. It's important that you find a good therapist. If you're going through pains, maybe it's something you're even going through now, you can look up organizations that help survivors, people who are sexual, who have gone to survivors who have gone through childhood abuse. You can look them up. Even if you Google, there are a lot of organizations out there in various countries. Not too sure about Africa. I know they're trying to come up with with things like this. They're waking up. There's to the reality that this is a reality and it must stop. But here in the Western world, there are loads of organizations that could be of help. So please reach out to someone. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to take you on and to show you the ropes and just lead you onto a safe place. Inner healing takes time. Yes, I was able to forgive, but it's only through the power of God I was able to do it. It was Christ that helped me. It wasn't something I could do by myself, because anger will well up in you that how could this person do this to me? I never signed up to a life of this. I mean, how will I explain this to the person I want to get married to? But I'm so grateful that I married somebody who was understanding, who knew that, look, this is not your fault. It's something that happened when you were a child, but not everybody might have that grace, of being believed, you see. So you need to be empowered. And so look for organizations that there's so many supporting networks out there that can, help you. So that's what I would say to the people
Thank
out
you
there.
very much. Now we come to the last question, which is, what is one mistake that you made that we can learn from, or that you have learned from and you want us to learn from?
And that is, yeah, thank you for that. I would say learning to have your voice, find your voice, speak out. There is nothing more powerful than speaking out. Because when you speak out, you've disarmed the perpetrator. They thrive in secrecy, and that is why it's got. Look, I've heard of 85-year-olds just speaking out when in their 80s.
5 years old.
Yes, I've heard
Mm.
of people late in life.
Yeah,
They only found their voice later in life.
you're
I
right.
worked as a coach. I just finished one session with someone who she's in her 60s, and that was what she went through it as well, but she never found her voice. But when we started working together, she found her voice. She's starting to want to do some things, and she's found healing. So
Mhm.
please, early in life, and we just need to help these children. Let's make it safe for the environment safe. If we are living, as parents, um, let them be. Let us be accommodating. I think that's what it is. Let's be accommodating so that they can come to us and say, "Look, this is happening to me." We don't want them hiding, because in hiding is the pain. Yes. So that's it.
Thank you very much, sis. This is awesome. Thank you for coming to bear it all out for us. I mean, somebody out there that will listen or watch this video later will definitely have hope, from hopelessness, and then they'll be able to tell and tell their story. Like we said, healing starts from talking.
It does.
Then it's where you start talking. From there, forgiveness will come. Like Joyce Meyer say, God wants you to be delivered from what you have been done, what you have done, and from what has been done to you. Both are equally important to him.
Yeah.
What you are doing or what has been done to you is important to him. And that's from somebody who was abused by her own father.
Father,
If
yeah.
she can, along the line, forgive her father, you should be able to. I know it's not easy. You say, what's wrong with her? Oh, so many things has happened to me as well. But because it's what God says. And Oprah Winfrey also says, forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. All right. So when you forgive, that's where the healing starts.
Yes.
And then because you have obeyed what God has said, I mean, it's not by your doing that you got a husband that love you and understand. It is the Lord's, it was the Lord's doing,
Yes.
because you forgave, yes, you might not forget, but you forgive from
Yeah.
your deep of your heart. You know what? I
Oh, yes.
forgive the person, let him go. And that's
Yes.
the beginning of the healing. The healing starts from
Exactly.
there. So,
Exactly.
and then God that rewards, the God, Lord that revenge and rewards will see you and say, okay, I'm going to connect you to somebody that will understand, what you've been through and be able to comfort you. And, the healing will just be completed. I just want to say thank you, sis. I know my sister, she's a therapist. If you are going through or you've been through, or you have a child who is, having some behavioral challenges, please get in touch with her. Can you please give us your telephone number? I know
And
this is your email address. Your email address is there. Rehoboth, is it?
yes, at AOL.
Rehoboth, AOL.com.
Yes.
So if
My
you want to get in touch with our sister, please get in touch with her through this email address. She's running different courses. I've been to one of it. It's very transformation. It's very helpful. It's inner healing,
yes.
and when I came out from that session, 4 sessions, isn't it? I went
Yes.
with you and
Yes.
OBA. I became a brand new person. I must, contributed to it, helped me. Honestly, I must confess, it really actually helped me. The sessions that I have with them, helped me,
Thank you.
and thank you very much, sis, for what you're doing. Like, I appreciate you. I love you.
Thank you
I
so
only
much
told you
for
about this
inviting me
yesterday,
to.
and voila, you just say, okay, it's all about helping others. That's another thing I could hear from what you are doing.
Yes.
By telling your story, you are helping others.
Oh,
You
yes.
are helping women, you are helping, other people, listen. I don't want this to happen to you. So if
Yeah.
you're out there, whatever it is that has happened to you, or your story will deliver somebody else out there. The moment people hear your story, they'll be able to relate, they'll be able to open up, they'll be healed. I said, the Lord that healed Sister Kike will also heal me. You start from there, follow the process, and the Lord will help us all in Jesus' name. Thank you very much, sis.
You're welcome.
Once again, I just want to, call you, my viewers, please come and encourage your sister. We are holding an awards night coming up on the 29th of this month, at Double Tree by Hilton Hotel in Docklands. Come, and of course, you can also appreciate other people, and nominate somebody that is there to you. Nominate somebody that is doing very well in your community. As you nominate others, as you appreciate others, others will appreciate you too. Give, it shall be given back to you. Good measure, pressed and shaking together, running over, that men and women begin to give to your bosom. It's when you appreciate people, it comes back to you. And that is just it. I just like to appreciate people. That's my ministry. I encourage people. Okay. And come and encourage me as well. The Lord will bless you in Jesus' name. I think this is the end of our show today.
Thank you
Somebody is
for
saying
having
something.
me.
So, okay, thank you, Mark. Joe. Thank you too. God bless you. I appreciate you, viewers. Thank you. Please share this video. Let it be a blessing to somebody out there. Just share, share, share. There are some things that, has been said in this session that will actually heal somebody out there. Don't keep it to yourself. Okay. Thank you. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, MCB TV channel on YouTube. Thank you. And bye-bye to everyone out there. God bless you. Until we see you again
Bye.
next time.